Welcome back. So, I want to do a review of a couple of bottles that I just recently picked up. These bottles have been around for a while. Well, this one, not so long, but the Benchmark Single Barrel's been around for a while. But, they're both cheaper bottles. Lots of reviews of them on the internet. This bottle here, the Jim Beam Black 7-year. So it's about $22. The Benchmark Single Barrel is about $24. So they're both cheaper bottles that are just kind of everyday drinkers. So I didn't want to take up, do separate reviews specifically for each one because these are rather simple bottles. But at the same time, these are some of the best $20 bottles out there. So I wanted to just kind of do a quick review of them, do them side by side. This one here is going to play a bigger role here coming up. I'm leading up towards a 6-bottle blind that's all Buffalo Trace products. So that's part of why I wanted to get a Benchmark in my lineup, so I can include that in that blind that I've got coming up. The Jim Beam, on the other hand, is just one that's been, I've been trying this at one of the bars down the street. It's very good. So I wanted to go ahead and get that on my shelf. In the future, maybe a couple months from now, I'll revisit the doing a blind taste test of the $40 and unders, and I hope to have a little bit better lineup of $40 and less bottles, in which these two will be part of that. I think these will be good replacements for some of the ones I did in that earlier video from about a week ago. So, anyways, let's begin. But first let's talk about them a little bit. The Jim Beam Black 7 years. It's a 90 proof. It calls itself straight, so it's at least 4 years old. And the bottle claims to have notes of caramel, oak, and vanilla. The Benchmark Single Barrel is 95 proof, so they're very similar in proof. And it does not have any tasting notes on it. But we do know that this is mash bill 1 of Buffalo Trace. So in other words, it's the same mash bill that is Eagle Rare and is E.H. Taylor and the Buffalo Trace whiskey that they sell as well. So the mash bill 1 is their lower rye, or like 10% and less rye mash bill. So anyways, let's begin. First, the Jim Beam. I definitely get the caramel. I would say, you can maybe get a hint of vanilla in there, but caramel is much more pervasive in this. And they say oak. I get that. But I almost get a piney kind of note out of this as well. Maybe a touch of clove as well. So I would guess, I don't know much about the mash bill for the Jim Beam Black, but I would say it's probably got to have a decent little amount of rye in it. So that's what I get on the nose. Now let's go with the Benchmark. Now, Benchmark. Smells right away. Smells like a Buffalo Trace product, right? Caramel, hazelnut. Those are the two most predominant notes that I get on the nose here. I also get maybe some cinnamon, nutmeg. Maybe even a little bit of confectionery sugar on top. Really lovely. Anyways, back to the Jim Beam, going to the palate. Yeah, this, boy, I really do get that piney kind of note out of this Jim Beam, especially in comparison to the Benchmark. For a $22 bottle, it's not very proofy. It's good. I get that caramel, not that strong. I get more oak notes. Maybe that almost like a graham crackery just kind of a starting to move into a started out more of a graham cracker with a little bit of caramel on it, and then now it's kind of moving more that finish is starting to be more of a dry oak. So while I didn't get much oak as it, the notes that this thing claims to have, it's like caramel, oak, and vanilla. I didn't really get much oak on the nose, right? I kind of got more of a pininess. But on the palate, that's where you really get that oak, that you really start to get that kind of a dry oak finish. It's quite tasty. It's very good for a $22 bottle. But maybe a touch of baking spice kind of starting to come in now at the end of the palate. But yeah, pretty simple though. Tasty, pretty simple. I happen to know fairly well what Jim Beam White tastes like. This is way better than that, right? So this is definitely something that I'd be happy to sip, as opposed to, say, a Jim Beam White. All right, let's move on to the Benchmark Single Barrel, $24 bottle. I am starting to get some clove out of this. Yeah. So, along with the hazelnut and caramel, I'm really starting to get some clove coming in on the nose. Oh, wow. This is significantly sweeter than the Jim Beam. Yeah, it's a pleasant oak on the mid palate. I'm getting that confectionery sugar, almost more of a vanilla as opposed to a caramel on the palate. So like a confectionery sugar and vanilla. Getting into, there's still that nutmeg, cinnamon, starting to develop a little bit of a five spice on the back of the palate. But that hazelnut mid palate is definitely right there. It's got that sweet nuttiness. Yeah, it's pretty tasty. Gonna go back to the Jim Beam. Now, there wasn't a lot of difference in proof here, right? So we had a 90 proof versus a 95 proof. So it's pretty similar, both under 100. I am getting that citrus or piney note out of this one. And that graham cracker is still there. But it's a little weaker, noticeably weaker than the Benchmark. They're both very tasty, but I gotta say, I think I'm enjoying the Benchmark better. Anyway, so that is my review of these two products. I think they're both excellent bottles for $20 to $24. Very tasty, not proofy. Definitely something that you can actually pull off the shelf and have a drink, you know, sipping it in your bottle. These are not your typical like $20 bottles that you only want to use in a mixer because they're so harsh. These are not. These are quite tasty. So, anyways, that's what I've got for you today. I was thinking about doing a 6-bottle blind taste, you know, but I just didn't have the time for it today. I'm hoping I'll be able to have it for tomorrow. I've got a series of blind taste tests that I want to be doing for you guys. But yeah, I just didn't have the time for it today, so I thought I would, you know, knock out this review of these two, you know, daily drinkers here. So, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.